Hi everybody, welcome to today's episode of Learn This Deck with the brilliant and beautiful Dreaming Way Tarot. And the card we're going to look at today is called the Moon. Now, the Moon is a very interesting card, and in this particular deck, I really love how they've shown the you know the image of this card is just so enticing. I just love it. I can't help myself. I just love it. Right, so let's dig into it and see what it's all about. Okay, environment. So this is the stuff that's in the background, and in this picture in the background is this big green moon, right, or a moon-like body. And because I'm all into sci-fi, we're talking all kinds of crazy stuff that just starts running in my head the moment I see something like this. So there is that huge moon. It's kind of, I would say, in this picture at least, it's kind of, because it's the moon card, maybe they've shown a very big moon. So there's like a huge influence of the moon. And moon typically is all about feelings, emotions, creativity, intuition. To be honest, like the devil card, the moon card is also a mixed bag card, and we'll see in a moment how that sort of turns out. What's happening in the foreground with the person? We have a girl with glasses, and that's something super cute because I wear glasses and I like girls with glasses. I like them. I think they're super cute. And she's playing with a creature from the sea. Now, at first, I thought it was a crab, but I researched it, and after I I wrote my journal entry, something was sort of nagging at the back of my mind. So I researched it and I discovered that this is not a crab, but a crayfish. Okay, it doesn't mention anything even in the LWB, so sadly, but this is not a crab, it's a crayfish. And we'll get to that in a little minute, because we're going to look at the symbolism, right? As I've said before, the moon is all about intuition, it's about creativity, but it's also something that can cause confusion. So that's the mixed bag with the moon, with the emotions going up and down. Confusion is rife because, let's face it, the head and the heart don't always agree, and emotions are going in one direction and logic tells you to go in another direction. And that kind of confusion is where the moon sort of symbolically says, hey, here I am. Now, the girl with glasses, I think that is a very interesting way to depict the character here, because I believe it shows a sort of persona or a person, or an approach where you are curious, you are smart, you're intelligent, and you're trying to get into it, you're trying to make sense of it. So it's not that's I'm not saying that people who don't wear glasses are not smart. It's just that with the use of that symbol, I believe the deck creator is trying to convey a person who likes to sort of dig in and make sense of what's there. And then, of course, like, at first I thought it was a crab, so I didn't sort of look up online, and I said, okay, a crab lives in the sea. That's a water body. Water body is your the subconscious. So it is a creature that has come up from that water body. So it's messages from subconscious. That's how I came to it. Then, of course, I went online, I researched, and the crayfish, Google is totally your friend. You should totally Google this. There's so many interesting things about crayfish out there, but especially if you Google crayfish symbolism, right, you'll come up with stuff like this, that, the crayfish symbol says, come forth despite your fear. So even if you are facing your fears, you're confronted with your fears, it encourages you to go forward and face them. It asks, this is also the symbol which says, okay, try new things, give it a shot. And Surprisingly, the crayfish is a creature that, when confronted with something scary, can just as well quickly move backwards. Right? It doesn't. It's not hard for it to go back. Just as it's not hard for it to move forward. So. In that symbolism, they're trying to say, okay, sometimes when it's too scary, you can totally go backwards, but you can go forward and face it as well. So you have a choice there. So that's an interesting sort of symbolism with that crayfish. So what does the LWB have to say? That's interesting too, right? In the LWB, it says this card means everything is vague and outcomes are undetermined, right? What is fact may turn out to be an illusion. Something that you fear may actually be beneficial for you, and you're feeling lost and you're waiting for clarity. So that those were the sort of phrases and words that stood out from the whole description for me. Okay, so what were my keywords? Naturally, first thing, upright. This card shows someone who is making an effort to understand the messages from the subconscious. So, what it means is sometimes you get dreams, sometimes you get these feelings, sometimes you get intuition, sometimes maybe you get some obscure messages. In your head, they just come from somewhere, right? Or you see some really weird dreams and you're like, what does this mean? I saw this in a dream. And then you get online and you start researching, maybe, or you maybe, if you have a book about dream symbols, you look it up there, something or the other. The point is, you're making the effort to understand. Or sometimes you have these gut feelings about something or someone, or and even then, even sometimes you go to a an occult practitioner like a tarot card reader or astrologer. That person says something that kind of sticks in your head and you keep thinking about it. So what all of this, and it's because it resonates with you, right? That's why you keep thinking about it. So all of it means that you're trying to figure out, you're making an effort to understand what it's really saying to you, what these symbols are telling you, right? So obviously there's introspection and there's research. So this involves all kind of research. This, when the moon card comes, it can also indicate a sort of creative time period where your imagination is running rampant and you're getting all kinds of ideas. I can tell you, when the moon card comes up in a reading, and this is the interpretation for me, I get so many story ideas. I just like, I keep that notebook and my phone next to me, and my notes app is just working overtime. But that's that's the creative time. That's like, whew, it's crazy. And like I said, it's a mixed bag card. So on the flip side, and without being reversed, this card can also indicate that things are very unclear, that there's just total confusion all around. Things are just not making sense. Again, like I keep saying, when you try to find a space where you're very very objective, where you are detached really from the card, and then in the reading, when you open the card, what is the first thing you feel in your heart? That's where the interpretation lies, in that direction. So even though you have mixed bag cards like this, you can totally, in a reading, figure out what specifically it's trying to tell you for that reading. Okay, so as is usual, we take this card and we reverse it. What happens? First, now this person, if you see, now she's not necessarily really curious or all that interested in that crayfish slash crab. So you can say that either she's unable or she's unwilling, he or she is unwilling or unable to understand these messages. So it's like, you get a dream and you're like, yeah, whatever, you ignore it. Or you get a feeling and you're like, yeah, whatever, and you ignore it. So either you're unwilling, or sometimes you get these feelings but you cannot make sense of what it is. It's like, this is a person who, this the unable part sort of happens with people who are really not very much in touch with their own inner being, inner self, and so sometimes they are just not able to make sense. These people can go to someone who will help them interpret it that way, but that's the whole meaning. Second point, either they are unable to find the answers or they're just totally getting lost. And the internet is a maze, right? Like I said, Google is your friend, yes, but sometimes, that's happened to me often when I start researching stuff for my stories. I'm on one website and I'm reading something, and then there's a link, something more interesting, and I click on it and click on it, and then suddenly it's 2 hours later and I'm reading something totally different from what I started researching. That is moon reverse. All right. That's what happens. um and on the other sort of side, this card can, in the reverse, can show someone who is feeling very pragmatic. So this, I believe, is a total opposite of a creative sort of time where just ideas are popping left, right, and center in your head. But then in the moon reverse, this, while the ideas may not be popping, you are still, you that's when you take, this is the period when you take all those crazy ideas that you stored away in your notes app, and you say, okay, so which story is really calling out to me? So which idea do I need to sort of develop a little bit further? Where do I need to do some research, right? Or it can show you that a period where you're just plodding along, where you're just going through it one step at a time, one day at a time. Nothing really superlatively exciting is happening in your life, but day by day you're just making progress that way. And yes, reverse, this card can also indicate a period of clarity, right? So the opposite of confusion, this is clarity, right? So this is moon reverse, the mixed bag, both upright and reversed. And yes, listen to your heart, listen to your intuition. So I believe cards, this working with these mixed bag cards really helps you uh, develop that sort of distance, that sort of objectivity, and yes, you do. You become more trusting of your intuition, and you become more and more respectful of it, really, in that way. So these cards are really important and fun to work with in readings and in everyday life. So, what was my card story? It is a full moon night, and I'm ready to examine the messages that I got in my dreams. I'm looking at this crab and I'm trying to figure out what the symbolism and the meaning is. Of course, I'm going to research this on the internet, but I'm trying to see if I can come up with an answer from within my own mind first. There's too much confusing information on the internet, so I'm going to have to rely on my own mind as well. So this is basically how I felt when I was in the head of this this girl. I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to make sense of this. I'm gonna have to research this. But for now, I'm just trying to figure out if something comes up from inside of me, because I don't want to get, once I get online and start researching, I don't know what's gonna happen 2 hours later. So that's the moon card. That's what my story was. Okay. What was your card story? What was your journal entry like? Go ahead, take a picture and put it on Facebook, put it on Twitter, put it on Instagram, and use the hashtag learn this deck. Or you can use the hash, and you can also use these other hashtags, the moon, dreaming with tarot, and tarotically speaking, and basically just share your your keywords, your journal entry, all of that. Share it online, and so that way we can connect with each other, and together we can learn this deck. All right. Tomorrow I will see you again with card number 19, the sun. So in the meantime, stay good, be good, and learn this deck. Bye now.